welcome everyone to the Millbrae Planning Commission meeting of April 7th, 2025. Can we do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Choi,
Here.
Commissioner Wong,
Present.
Vice Chair Davis. Here. Chair Chan.
Here.
4 planning commissioners are present. Commissioner Quigg is excused.
All right, please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up on the agenda is the land acknowledgement. The Millbrae Planning Commission acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral and contemporary homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who were the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. Next up is agenda review. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve, as well as a public hearing item. Any further comments or on the agenda? All right, moving on. All right, then moving on to the approval of meeting minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes of February 3rd and the regular meeting minutes of February 19th. Any comments on the minutes? Any motions?
I'd make a motion to vote on them separately because one of them I did not attend.
Okay, which one would you like to move to approve first?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 19th, the meeting which I attended, and make a motion on this here.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All right, let's vote. Please vote then. Looks like everyone has voted. Please reveal the result. All right.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-0.
All right. And then is there any motion for the minutes of February 3rd?
I move to approve the minutes from February 3rd.
Any seconds? Oh, I guess I'll second it. All right. Please vote. Looks like please reveal the result.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-1.
301 clarification, right? With all abstained since I was not at the meeting.
3-0-1. Thank you. With Wong Commissioner Wong abstaining.
All right, thank you. Moving now to public communication. This is time reserved on the agenda for any items that don't appear on tonight's agenda. 3 minutes for any public commenters who wish to speak. Any hands raised on Zoom or speaker slips?
No hands raised on Zoom or speaker slips.
All right then, so we're now on public hearing 4A 603 Lomita Avenue. This is for a design review permit and an exception request application to allow the demolition of an existing 1,994 square foot residence and construction of a new 4,008 square foot residence with a non-conforming upper story front setback. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Before we get started, I have to excuse myself. I live too close to the project.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Oh, Vice Chair Davis. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair Chan. I'm Nestor Guevara, Senior Planner, and I'll be making the presentation for this item tonight. As mentioned, the project address is at 603 Lomita, and the request is for a design review permit and an exception request for a non-conforming upper story setback. This map here just shows the project location. The project is in the Lomita Hills neighborhood, and the red dot there just shows the approximate location of the project site. As way of project background, the location or the project is zoned R1, which is single-family residential. It's a corner lot that measures about 7,300 square feet. And it currently contains a split-level two-story residence that's just under 2,000 square feet. The proposal is for a new residence, that's 3 stories and split level as well. This here is the existing site plan. You'll notice that the lot has an interesting configuration because it basically has 3 sides that are street facing, with just the one side that is abutting or has a shared property line with another neighbor. And then this here is the proposed site plan. It meets all ground floor setbacks, the front yard landscape requirement, as well as the rear yard open space requirement. As mentioned, there is a request for an exception to the upper story or second story setback. And I also want to point out that they have 2 single car garages rather than the 1 2-car garage that you usually see. And again, this is because the configuration of the lot is a little bit unique, let's say. This is the proposed first floor plan. So the first or ground floor will have, again, those 2 1-car garages, a theater room, workstation, and then 2 bathrooms and 1 bedroom. The proposed second floor plan is shown here on the screen. It contains a living room, dining room, kitchen, a family room, and then a bedroom and a bathroom. The third story here or the floor plans for the third story are shown here, and the third story features 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms as well. This is the proposed front elevation. So this is the elevation if you're looking at the project from the Santa Barbara Avenue side. That's actually the front of their property. And as mentioned earlier, there's a second story setback exception request. And it's the area that's just above the main entry there. This is the proposed rear elevation. So this is looking at the project site from Lomita Avenue. Then this is the proposed left side elevation. This would be the side that abuts the neighbor, so it has a shared property line. And then this is the proposed right side elevation. The next couple slides just show a better representation of the project materials and colors. So this again is from the Santa Barbara side. This is the front of the property. And then this is another angle of the rendering that shows the materials and the colors that are proposed. In terms of neighbor response, a total of 8 adjacent owner consultation forms are sent out. As you'll see on the next slide, all 8 adjacent owner forms were returned in support of the project. The property owner at 611, excuse me, 611 Lomita mentioned concerns to staff regarding loss of view. Staff then conducted a site visit to assess these concerns and noted that there are views available to 611 Lomita of the San Francisco Bay from their kitchen and their rear deck. And this map here on the right shows the project's site in kind of the yellow, which is 603 Lomita on the corner. And then with the blue highlight is 611 Lomita, which is the project or the property that has the concerns regarding the loss of views. And the red line there just shows the approximate location of the window and the rear deck that they mentioned. And the next couple slides will show photos that staff took on the site visit. This first one is from the kitchen, looking towards the bay and the project site. And this second photo is from the rear deck. In terms of neighbor response, again, 611 Lomita, the property owner there, has concerns due to the proposed additional height for the project. Staff notes that there are additional views of the bay visible to 611 Lomita from their rear deck. As mentioned earlier, the project lot features a unique configuration due to its corner location with the three basically exterior sides or street-facing sides. And the proposed project design and orientation allowed it to be built to its maximum allowed floor area, while also not affecting existing trees that are to remain. There's existing trees both in the front and the rear of the property, and the project as designed would allow those trees to remain. As mentioned earlier, the project is also, or the applicant is also requesting an exception. Per Millbrae Municipal Code, there's a requirement in the R1 zone for the second story to be set back 10 feet from the exterior wall below. So it parallels that ground floor along all points of its facade. The proposed project doesn't meet that second story setback for a portion of the project just above the main door entry on the Santa Barbara side. The project does feature a third story that is set back 10 feet from that second story wall below. So the applicant is requesting the exception for that second story front setback. Staff notes that the existing residence actually includes the non-conforming upper story or second story front setback. Here on the right, we see again the existing floor plan for the second story, and the line in the red shows the area that's non-conforming in that front upper story setback. That includes the areas for bedroom 1, bedroom 2, and the bathroom. And there's a 0 setback there, so it's flush with the exterior wall below. The linear feet of non-conforming upper story existing is 33 feet and 3 inches. The proposed project would include a non-conforming upper story or second story setback for a portion of that second story. A new one-car garage on that Santa Barbara side on that lower level would allow a part of that upper story to meet the required setback. This graphic here on the right, the green area, a portion of it shows the area that would meet that second story setback. While the area with the red marking, that's the area of bedroom 4 and bathroom 4. That would not meet the required 10-foot upper story setback. The linear feet of non-conforming upper story proposed is 19 feet. As part of the analysis for the exception, staff conducted a survey of the neighborhood and found many of the 2-story homes to feature a non-conforming second story front setback. There are some newer developments too that are listed in the staff report that do include a second story in the neighborhood, and those do meet the upper story setbacks. 3-story homes are not typical in this neighborhood. There is one example at 428 Lomita Avenue. The Planning Commission actually not accepted or approved and granted an exception for the second story setback for non-conforming upper story setback for this project. And similar to the project that you're seeing tonight, they have a third story that is set back. Staff notes that the required step backs minimize the visual mass of the structure. In making the findings for a design review permit, the Planning Commission would need to make the following findings. Number 1, that the architectural, landscaping, general appearance of the proposed building or structure and grounds are in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. Number 2, that the project complies with all applicable development regulations. Number 3, that the project will not cause a significant visual impact to neighboring views from principal rooms of a residence. And number 4, that the proposal is not detrimental to the orderly, harmonious, and safe development of the city and will not impair the desirability of investment or occupation in the neighborhood in which the building or structure is proposed to be erected. Similarly, the Planning Commission must make these findings in order to grant the exception. And these are number 1, that the deviation granted from the minimum required or maximum allowable development standard prescribed for the zoning district in which the project is located will not, under the circumstance of the particular case, be detrimental to property and improvements existing upon any abutting parcel. And number 2, that the deviation granted from the minimum required or maximum allowable development standard prescribed for the zoning district in which the project site is located will, under the circumstance of the particular case, be compatible with the property and improvements existing or proposed upon the project site. With that said, staff is recommending that the planning commission review the project, consider the public testimony and findings as presented, and consider either approving the design review permit and exception request as presented, or continue the item to a public hearing to allow the applicant time to revise the project to meet the development standards. That concludes staff's presentation. We're available for any questions, and both the property owner and the project architect are here as well.
Thank you, staff. Any questions from the commission for staff?
I have a clarifying question. So with respect to the non-conforming second-story setback, is it at the same plane as the existing non-conforming second story? So in the proposed project, there's an area on the second story that's non-conforming.
Yeah.
Is this at the same location as the non-conforming?
The existing?
Of the existing?
The existing is kind of that same location and extended a little bit to the left.
Okay,
Because that first story garage on the left side of the front elevation
right.
allows that second story on that portion to meet that second story setback.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
gotcha.
for a portion of it, it would meet it, but for another portion, it wouldn't.
Okay. But compared to the existing
It would be
project.
the same
distance
kind of
from the
location,
curb? Okay,
yes.
gotcha. Excellent. Thank you.
So in the planning department's judgment for allowing the second-story setback variance, what circumstances did you consider for allowing that? Or what, was there any other circumstances, like any conditions that warranted to have that design feature like that?
For the exception, so we looked at a couple of things. We looked as detailed in the staff report and then the presentation at the neighborhood in general. We found that there are a lot of cases of second stories that don't have a setback, that have a non-conforming setback throughout both Lomita Avenue and Santa Barbara Avenue. We also looked at the lot itself. As mentioned, it's a very unique lot in that it has three exterior sides. So it has three sides that are fronting a street, whereas just the one side is abutting a shared property line.
Okay, so for the, sometimes when we have these house remodels and these designs, and then some of the lots are kind of tight so that there's very minimal setback from the fence line for the first story, like maybe 5 feet. And then if there was a second story really close to that, not meeting that setback, then the second story would also be 5 feet away from the fence line also, right? So in your judgment, was the circumstances for this consideration that the second story was further away from like the minimum 5-foot setback from the fence on the second story that's
Well, this one's a little bit different because the exception request is for the front, and the front setback is 20 feet. So it's 20 feet back, that ground floor, and that portion that they're applying for an exception would be a little bit further back, maybe a couple feet. I'd have to look at the plans again to give you the specifics. But it wouldn't be the 5 feet, it'd be further back because it's a front exception. It's not a side in this case.
right. And then I can see sometimes we've granted variances because there was like no adjoining neighbor to have that second story setback on the second story. If it was too close in proximity to a neighboring house and, you know, it's for privacy, that setback allows for more privacy and then also more circulation and air and space in between. You don't want, you know, 2 second stories with exceptions and it's like a big wall between the houses. So in this circumstance, do you see that not being the case?
But the circumstance is a little bit different because again, it's a front setback exception request. So the only side or the side of the property or side of the project that does directly abut a neighbor, they meet the setback on that side, the upper story setback.
Okay. Okay, so maybe I'm interpreting this wrong because it says 0 feet existing setback on the second floor story, but the proposed is still 4 feet. Then.
So the proposed
On the
then
side.
meets, yeah, exactly. The proposed does meet.
Okay.
It currently doesn't, but it would meet that side
Okay.
setback.
Okay, so there's only one variance request for the front sets?
Only the
setback?
one exception request for the front, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that would be again, a street facing, side of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess along those lines, in the past, this has usually been phrased as a conditional use permit when we grant a setback exception. Or a conditional use permit to continue the whatever form of the previous building in terms of how it didn't conform with the code. So why is this being phrased as an exception rather than a conditional use?
Sure. In this case, because it qualifies as a substantial improvement, because over 50% of the square footage would be altered, then it would be, in technical terms, be considered a new build. And in that case, it would be an exception rather than a continuance of that nonconformity.
Okay, got it. And then in terms of the height and the FAR, otherwise the project is within the height limits and within the FAR limits, right?
Yes, it meets all the other development standards, ground floor setbacks, all other second story setbacks other than the front setback for a portion, and then, yeah, height, landscaping, everything else is.
Okay, great. Thanks. Any other questions from the commission?
Can we go back to like A 1.0, the drawing?
Would that be the site plan, I believe?
Yeah, the very first, yeah, the site plan.
Just a question, Commissioner Wong, the existing or the proposed site plan?
The proposed site plan.
Just one second, we're pulling it up.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. So just to clarify and to just confirm what we're doing here, the front of the building there is on the south side or the bottom of the picture,
Exactly, yeah.
but the address is
It's-
603 Lomita, but the front of the house is actually on Santa Barbara. So,
That's correct, yeah.
okay, so that's kind of the confusing part. The
Yeah.
front of the house is not Lomita. Okay, and then, so the setback exception request is actually on facing Santa Barbara.
Yes, exactly. The front, but it's facing Santa Barbara, yeah.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, staff. Next, if the applicant would like to address the commission.
Thank you, Nestor, for explaining all the situation here. My name is Max Wayne. I live on 603 Lomita Avenue. I purchased this house 2005. My initial intention was to raise my family here, not to develop or sell it. And it's still this day, I want to do the same thing. It just took me that many years. COVID came through and many other hardship in my life. But my goal never went away. So this is what I designed. This is what I talked to my architect. He brought my vision into reality. It just took 20 years. So finally, we got to this point. We submitted this plan initially in 2010, so 2015, I believe, 10 years ago. And all these years, again, we were trying to get the best design possible to adjust in this property because this property is very unique. And that's one of the reasons I was very intrigued by this property because it's a unique lot. You have no neighbors and this house is exposed. So I wanted to build something beautiful I can really live in my rest of my life and it'd be good for the neighborhood. All my neighborhood in line with me, very good terms. We all happy together, we live together. Some people moved away, some people passed away, but I still have very good relationship with my neighbors. All these years, we had several meetings, my architect and myself, with the planning department. We were trying to make sure we are on the right track. That's what was attention. We wanted to make sure we do the right thing. As Nestor mentioned, it's a addition to an old home. So part of the home, I would say 50% of the home, we're keeping the same walls, same floor, we're adding more, expanding on different sites. So the site you're looking at, which is in the question, is we not changing that particular, we're just adding a garage onto the side, which is the south side. So we did not change that wall. So maybe that was the reason it never came up. Because all these years we were talking, we said, okay, we spent a lot of time, a lot of money to get to this stage. And that question never came somehow. Maybe we didn't catch it, whatever, so now it came to the point I exhausted a lot of my resources on which I budgeted for this particular planning and developing the design, and final touch was like spent $2,000 on all the drawings. When we said it, we were ready to go to the last meeting, actually. At last minute, we were informed that we cannot go to the meeting because we do not, we have this issue, which is a setback issue. It really devastated me, devastated my architect, because we spent a lot of time, a lot of energy. But anyway, we came to the office, we had discussion, and we said, okay, can you please put us in an agenda so we can at least explain this is not 100% new construction. As I mentioned, technically, as Nestor said, it technically, yes, falls in the category, but we're keeping quite a bit of home in space. So it would be a devastating and very great hardship for me to go back on the drawing board. We have engineers who already designed, started working on this process because we were so close and we were just given a green light all the way through. And so to go back to the drawing board, imagine how much I have to pay his time again, how much I pay the engineer time, and do all the printing and all. And that's just the financial cost. Mentally, my daughter, when I started, she was 2, and she's still waiting for her room. Seriously, she calls him, when I'm going to have my personal room. So, and now she's ready to go to college in a couple of years. Said, can you please build my room before I move out? We are at that stage, seriously. I lost my interest almost in this because, oh my God, I have to start over again. But, when I look at her, I say, okay, at least I can give her one thing. I can have her live in her room for at least a year or so. So hopefully you consider this. My hardship, I don't want to really set an example, but we do have examples in our neighborhood, which I remember like 9 years ago, it's 428, which as Nestor mentioned, it was built exactly the same thing. They had double wall, and which they didn't set back because we cannot go further. We maximize all our limits on each side. So there's very little room to expand. So it'll be very hard for us to go back in the drawing board and build. And again, it looks beautiful, beautiful home as you see the drawings. So I would request for you to just consider this exception and grant me this exception. The bird came here to just tell you that. Thank you very much. My architect is here to answer any technical questions, which I cannot address. So his name is Alan. So he'll be here if you have any questions. If you have any question for me, any commissioner has a question for me.
Any questions from commissioners for the applicant?
Yes, question. So as you noted, it's been a long time in the planning and process in the neighborhood consult forms. They were back from 2019. Maybe this is a question for the staff. So has there been substantial changes to the original designs that warrant another neighborhood consult review?
No, we don't believe so, no. Basically the footprint of the building hasn't changed. So we don't believe it would require any additional adjacent consultation forms, no.
And then you do on this property, you do have, I guess, one adjacent neighbor, is that correct?
Yes.
Corner lots, but just, it's kind of positioned so that there's just one house adjacent to your property.
Correct, and we have a great relationship.
Great, well, thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the public comment portion of this meeting. So every member of the public will have 3 minutes to comment or ask questions of this project. It's one block of 3 minutes, so if you have multiple questions or comments, make sure you use this time to communicate all of those if you wish to speak on this item. Are there any speaker slips or hands raised on Zoom?
There are no speaker slips or hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. Is there a motion should close the public comment period then?
Yes, I'll make a motion to close public comment.
I'll second.
Okay, your votes, please. Let's reveal the results.
Motion passes 3-0. Public comment is now closed.
All right, now turning back to the commission, are there any who would like, Commissioner Wong, Commissioner Choi, who would like to start off the discussion?
Sure. First of all, I think this is by geometry, is a difficult site for which to design. I want to acknowledge that. And I think by breaking up the massing of this building, I think you've addressed what could have been a very difficult directional anchor for this building. So I applaud you for that. Thank you. I also appreciate you adding a second garage enclosure to suffice, even though it's not a two by garage side by side. The intent's there to have addressed that. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I have no further comments. I think it meets the height requirement. The setback, while it's non-conforming, aligns with the existing portion that was there previously. I tried to look at the view photos and see if that non-conforming portion would have made a huge difference. I don't believe so from what I'm seeing in the photos. Thank you, Chair Chen.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I'll just add my 2 cents. So first off, we recognize that there was a letter from Ms. Bella Yu on 611 Lomita concerned about the structure, and she's a neighboring homeowner, and she's concerned about the obstruction of the view and the natural light from her home. Unfortunately, she's not doesn't appear to be here to provide her testimony or comment. Okay, and then, so leaving that up to the commission then to make comments. From what I see here is that, for a corner lot like this, which has a lot of traffic in different directions and a lot of people viewing the home, could make a statement for our city and our neighborhood, and has a big impact on the neighborhood and how people see this neighborhood and the view, the condition of the neighborhood. And what I see, initial impression is tremendous investment, a lot of thought and detail put into this. It's just marvelous looking structure. And it's very large, we admit that, but it's broken up in its massing so that it has a lot of interest and a lot of character. And that's, I think, really will add a lot of value to the neighborhood and to the community. I really appreciate your investment and looking at Millbrae and finding the place you want to live in and make this investment. It's really, I think it's a wonderful thing. For the neighbor, the adjoining neighbor, there is quite a bit of setback, not so much from the garage, but the garage is like one level. So in a sense, a lot of the house is further setback to allow more light. between the homes. And then I see you did a good job with the window study. So the windows are not peering into each other, and the windows are minimized on that east side of the house, maximized on the west side with your view. So you're giving the neighbor privacy. In addition, there's a large tree in the backyard. So besides the setback and the window arrangement and the tree placement, it looks like there's a good amount of privacy. That leaves the light study. And there was, you do recognize there was a light study done in the drawings, and that does show that there is some bit of impact on the neighborhood. But overall, I think we recognize, balance of the pros and the cons of this. I think it's really a wonderful thing you're doing for your, not only yourself, but also to, impact the neighborhood in a positive way.
Thank you. Just to turn to the concern raised by the neighbor at 611, I just want to ask the applicant if you had any kind of dialogue with them about this view concern of theirs.
No, unfortunately, I didn't. The gentleman who owned the property previously had a very good relationship with him. His name was Don. He lived there for 30-some years, raised his family. He moved on, and he sold to these new neighbors, which are haven't really communicated with them at all. I did take some pictures today. I went up on the roof, and because as Nestor brought this this concern from the neighbors, which I wanted to. So as Nestor mentioned as well, because when you go into the window, I've been to the house many times because I knew the neighbors before. So if you look into the window, and I started this process a long time ago, so we had this discussion with the previous owner. So again, does it block your view? So this window, I got up there and we looked, so kind of imaginary line, that's okay, this is my wall gonna be. So we talked about this many times with the previous owner. No, I recently didn't have any. So I went up on my roof and I did line of sight. I took some pictures and it clears. They have plenty of view. Even though, okay, so they have 3 windows on that side. And there's only one window showing there, which Nestor pointed out. 2 other windows are totally blocked by my immediate neighbors' trees. So, so this has the still wide view of the bay. Even though I built my 3rd story, it still have the wide view of the bay on both sides of my house, because I have a 60 feet tall tree in front of my house, which blocks my view as well. And that obviously blocks everybody's view. I cannot cut that tree. So I did not have a dialogue with them, but I double checked today. I followed Nestor's footstep and took pictures from all directions. They're not affected, I would say, minor, put it this way. So it doesn't block the view. So they have this view and they have left side view and right side view on each side. Thank you.
Through the chair. The commission closed the public hearing. I just wanted to mention that we do have somebody on Zoom that have raised their hand. So if the commission wants to consider that testimony, the commission could reopen the public hearing through a motion.
Is there a motion to reopen?
I move to reopen public comment.
And I'll second.
All right, your votes, please. What's the result? Okay. All right, the public, oh,
Motion passes 3-0. Public comment is reopened.
do we have any hands raised on Zoom or speaker slips?
Yes, we have one raised on Zoom. Bella, can you please unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm Bella, and I am the owner of 611 Lomita Avenue. I think our house is the most impact from the 603 Lomita Avenue. And like for my understanding, it's like they want to expand the house to 2 story, and you know what, if they expand the house to that high, that tall, it's going to be blocking our view from the dining room and from the deck. Right now we can view the entire bay and also the mountains from the other side, and if they expand in the house, and then we could not see any views anymore. All we see is going to be the roof and the side wall of the building. And 3 years ago, we are new to the neighborhood. I just bought the house 3 years ago. What I like the house about is the view of the house. And right now they are trying to, expand in the house, and then it's going to be blocking like a lot of the view, especially from the deck. That's why I'm saying that if I understand they want to expand the house, maybe they could lower a little, lower a bit to not blocking that much view. It's gonna be okay. And yeah, this is my concern.
Thank you, Bella.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wong?
Just checking if there is anybody else.
Oh, yeah, right. Is there any other public comment?
There are no other public comments or hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to close public comment again.
Second.
All right, your votes, please. Yep, okay.
Motion passes 3-0. Public comment is now closed.
Any other comments from the Commissioners Choi or Wong? Okay, so,
If I may, through the chair.
Yes.
Just in quick response to the public comment. She mentioned about potentially lowering the height of the building, but I do want to note that the proposed ceiling heights are kind of the standard 9 feet. So it's difficult, and again, with the configuration of the lot, it's difficult to see how they could build up to their allowable floor area without the project as it is proposed.
thank you.
I think it also, just a question, also on the drawings, it looks like there's maybe a substantial amount of grading also, so that the lot appears to be sloping towards the east a little bit, and so the 611 is a little bit higher right now than just the topography is higher, house is sitting higher than the other lot. And if the 603 Lomita also, can you clarify if there'll be grading of the lot, and then also the elevations here, like with the garage on the, there's a wall, retaining wall, so does that also lower the building heights lower than the existing grade? No? Maybe it's a question for the architect.
Observing that correctly.
Please move closer to the mic so yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're observing that correctly. Portions of the house are below grade. So it's really, from the Lomita side, it looks like a 2-story house. And it's just because of the shape of the lot, it slopes in down direction and across direction. And very difficult to get everything to work out. But I think earlier comments were right on.
Can you talk about the retaining wall on the
Yes.
east side of the house, and how far,
Yes.
how high is that retaining wall, and how far down?
It's high enough so that you can get an exit window out from the room at ground level. So it's, I would say approximately 4-foot wall at the highest.
So that allows the house to be sunk down
Yes.
lower?
Yeah.
Because of the retaining wall, you're going below grade.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? So just I would say for myself, you know, I think that there's, you know, the house is meeting is meeting the height limit. It's meeting the FAR as the staff reported earlier. It is unfortunate that it has an impact on the neighbor's view, but it sounds like there are other options based on staff's survey of the investigation of the view issue. In the past, we have asked for applicants to make changes to their projects when there was when the neighbor's only view was impacted, like they had no other option. So that is something that this commission has considered. In terms of the exception request, it does seem to me that the what they're asking for is not excessive in terms of size in order to ensure that they have additional living space. And it doesn't seem out of scale with what is in the neighborhood, both in terms of the existing two-story houses. So my feeling is that my feeling is that the exception request seems reasonable to me and it meets the design review guidelines. Is there any further discussion or perhaps a motion?
I think just, you know, expanding on that detail and that concern, you know, the house on the east side, it has an elevation of 24 feet. Allowable height limit is 30 feet. So they are sinking the house down somewhat into the ground to alleviate concerns. There's just tremendous amount of detail put into this house. The landscaping, the architecture. I think that neighbors probably could see, if they look into this, that a lot of their concerns are really thought out, and they're trying to do their best to make concessions with the neighborhood. And I think that this will really elevate the neighborhood and really benefit the neighbors. There might be some little bit of some loss of view. The neighboring house has you know, smaller windows on that side. I know they talked about the deck. Primary views are in the front of the house, but we hope everything works out. We hope the neighbors really can talk and discuss and appreciate the project and make more compromises, especially during construction, noise, and so forth, and just be neighborly. That would be great. Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve of the exception request application to allow demolition of an existing 1994 square foot residence and the construction of a new 4,008 square foot residence with a non-conforming upper story front setback in the single family residence R1 zoning district at 603 Lomita Avenue.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Your votes, please. I think we're ready.
Motion passes 3-0-1 with Vice Chair Davis abstaining.
All right. The action of the Planning Commission is considered final pending a 10-day appeal period and the payment of the required appeal fee. For anyone that wishes to appeal the decision of the Planning Commission, please contact the city clerk at 650-259-2414 or etran@ci.millbrae.ca.us. Okay, moving on in the agenda, we have no items under new business. Next item is staff updates, although let's wait for Vice Chair Davis to return before we begin?
Okay, just 3 updates tonight. The first is on April 16th, Wednesday, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. The city will be holding a virtual workshop on the city's on a proposed local density bonus ordinance. This is a follow-up from the city council meeting in which the local density bonus was presented. The mayor suggested that we do some outreach to the local property owners in Millbrae to get their feedback on what a proposed ordinance could look like in order to help them facilitate redevelopment. So this is that workshop. It'll be on Zoom for anybody in the audience that is interested. After that workshop, the city with the consultant will prepare a draft of the ordinance, given the feedback that we've received so far. And then once that draft ordinance is prepared, we'll bring it to the Planning Commission for a recommendation to the City Council. The second update is on April 29th, there's a Planning Commission training hosted by 21 Elements, who's a consortium of the city jurisdictions within San Mateo County. This training session is called the Planning Commissioners Training Last Mile Transit, and it's on April 29th from 6 to 7:30. Dinner will be served from 5:30 to 6, and it's held at the San Mateo Public Library, Oak Room at 55 West 3rd Avenue in San Mateo. If you're interested, please register by April 22. If you need assistance with that, we'll be able to assist with that. And lastly, the next Planning Commission meeting scheduled for April 21st will be canceled. Thank you.
Any discussion of the staff announcements?
I have a question for staff. Do you know, or do you happen to know if there are any other projects like the one we just discussed where they submitted before COVID or even before then and was just held up for any number of reasons, and you think they might come back again?
Probably have about 1 or 2 left. We've reached out to them. They've indicated they're still interested to submit, and so we're just patiently waiting for that. But yeah, there's probably a couple that are still outstanding from COVID or pre-COVID era.
Right. Thank you.
Just tagging on to that, it appears that, since the consult forms were passed out way back in 2019, and then we might have had to consider if this new project had to do the same outreach again, but it sounds like the neighbor had the most pressing concern. She understood about the project, so the outreach to her, how did that go?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a set rule on that. The only rule of thumb that we use in whether we ask for the neighbor consultation forms to be filled out again is if the project had changed design, right? Because they see something and then they sign it and they change the design. And so in this case, there wasn't substantial revisions. Yeah, the length of time had passed, and so there could be some turnover. The applicant really insisted to have the meeting, and so we obliged. It's not a, so they fulfilled the intent of the neighbor consultation form, so we were comfortable with moving forward without having them to, because it does take a long time. You can't track them down. You got to send them again. So we wanted to kind of work with them to be able to get this project to the Planning Commission.
But you did post the notice on the house, right, for the hearing, so that's also good.
We did,
way to
yeah.
notice. Okay.
And the story polls have been up for several weeks now, so.
So I know we're talking about the objective residential design standards. And I think at least part in scope for that discussion was whether the upper story setback rule would be maintained. Do you know if that, what, has that issue been discussed? Was it one of the things that the council discussed when it was brought before them at their meeting like a month or two ago?
It wasn't specifically addressed, but what we are landing towards is contextual standards, and it's still being developed as we speak. The draft of those standards will come out probably in June. But what we're thinking is that for streets that have a defined neighborhood form, one that I could think of is El Bonito. You guys approved a single family home. It was very clear that the entire street, both sides, didn't have any upper story setbacks. Code required it. It's a new house in a vacant lot, so they provided it. But is that the best outcome for that neighborhood? Probably not. So what we're thinking is that if there is a defined neighborhood form, you can follow that. You don't have upper story setbacks, you can follow that form, and it'll be objective. So it'll be, you'll have to look at the neighbors on the left and the right of you. Absent that, then there would be an upper story setback. So, so that's kind of, what we're, the draft is trending towards.
I think that sounds reasonable.
I will also say that there is flexibility with upper story setbacks. So a portion of that second story has to be set back. I don't know if it's like 65%, just to give some ability to have variation, break up that. So it's not just two lines exactly. Because right now, the way that it reads, it has to follow the line of the floor below the walls. So if there's a jog on the lower floor, you have to follow that same jog on the upper floor. So there'll be some flexibility. So you don't have to set back 100% of that wall. It could be like 65% to
think
accommodate
there's,
like bay windows.
I think there was a statement in the existing package where they mentioned precedent, so it just needs to be clear to people in the community that just because there's a precedent doesn't mean it's one size fits all precedents. We allow it everywhere, but as much as we can define why that was allowed, right? So the neighbor, look at the neighbor on the left, look at the neighbor on the right, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and that's a good comment. It's a good point too, because once you set one precedent, and that'll just set. So it has to be a case by case basis, right?
Exactly.
Each case is unique. Yes, there might be one house down the street that has this, but does that apply here? Are the findings be able to be made? Is this the intent of the design standards met here? And not just, well, there's one, so everybody should be able to have that same. So if somebody else in this neighborhood, has a 3-story house, and and it looks completely, blocky, massive, then in that case, maybe it is warranted in that case, but case by case.
But the context matters, right? In terms of the site, the geometry of the site, the shape of the site, of the parcel, and this, to your earlier point, Commissioner Wong, on the sloping of the property in the subject property relative to other properties.
Yeah, and in this particular instance, property did benefit from the upward sloping nature of the street. If it was all completely fat, it would look pretty massive, but in this case, they were kind of on the down slope,
right.
so it wouldn't look as massive.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have planning commissioner announcements. Any Announcements from the commission? Okay. With that, then, we've reached the end of our agenda, and it's time to adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.